All right, I'm back. I'm still going strong, as you can tell. I'm still wearing the same thing, um, same day. It's actually really, really late now, but fourth part of the series of my chess books. Now we're getting into the strategy section of the books. Mastering chess strategy, right? After you develop positional sense, after you develop a chess analysis ability, so you can, you can analyze the board. Then you can come up with a plan, and and part of coming up with the plan is knowing what are strategic elements, what are the strategic elements you should be striving for, um, and this book basically covers that. Right, you have a bunch of strategic themes, then you have the lessons reinforced with games, and then I do believe there are quizzes here. Right, here's a quiz, and so then um, and then you check your solution. This is what you want, right? You want a book that teaches you uh, some concept, reinforces that concept. I don't like when the concept is reinforced by a complete game, right? I'd like it just to get to the part where, like, part in the game where the concept becomes applicable, and then I can remember it. I don't need to read the whole game. I don't need to follow the whole game, especially if I'm doing it over the board. Um, I think it's time waste. It's wasteful. Time wasteful. It's time wasteful phrase. Anyway, this book is a good book, right? It teaches you concepts, reinforces the concepts, and then it tests you on the concepts. That's basically all you can ask for in a book, and the writing is pretty good. Next, oh, by the way, this is Johann Helston. This is the only book I have by Johann. I really can't speak to his writing other than the introduction that I've read. The Complete Book of Chess Strategy. This is Jeremy Stillman's now famous book here in the United States. Um, and everything I'm talking about is in the United States, or what's available to us. You have to kind of assume that there are some chess classics out there that are not available in English, so that we here, at least in America, don't have access to them. Um, okay. Anyway, so Stillman is a popular writer. He's a good writer. There's a reason why he's popular. He's a good writer. And this is his strategy book. Uh, it's going to be pretty good, especially because he's going to cover concepts other authors cover, because they're generally the concepts that are involved in strategy. So he does a pretty good job. Okay, next, another author, Yasser Seirawan. I think we already went through Yasser's tactics book. Yasser doesn't overdo it with examples. He doesn't overdo it with diagrams. He's going to give you a few diagrams, and then he's going to talk a lot afterwards, right? Just like that. I can do that with any page. Blah, blah. Biggity bam, right? So he's going to talk about certain strategies. It could be weak squares. It could be isolated pawns. It could be prophylaxis. I think I pronounced that right. And then he's gonna elucidate, right? And then he's gonna reinforce it with examples. So another strategy book. Seirawan's a good author. Um, can't go wrong. Okay, more books with club players in the title. That sells because most of us identify as club players, even if we actually don't belong in clubs. We identify as low intermediate players, which probably we are. Positional chess, wrong side. Positional chess, right? Positional chess. What's involved in positional chess? I personally am a terrible positional chess player. Even most of the games I win, I am losing throughout, right? It takes my little traps and tactics for me to get ahead material wise, and then I'm pretty decent at checkmating in the middle game, which is pretty much where all which is pretty much where all games end for us middling players, because we fear the end game. Anyway, Herman Gruten is a good author, and he has a good layout to his book. I recommend this book. I'm not pretending I've read all of these, so when I say I recommend it, I've looked at the table of contents, I've read the introduction, and on occasion I've read chapter 1. So I get a feel for the writing, and I get a feel for the rest of the instruction, but I haven't really gone through this entire book. But you're going to get pawn centers, you're going to get pawn island theory, pass pawns, weak pawns, material advantage, these kinds of topics to give you a positional advantage. Okay, so if you're weak positional chess, and you want to get a book, this is as good a book as any, I think. Along the lines of positional chess are the chess structures, right? A Grandmaster's Guide. So Mauricio Flores Rios is I think he's from South America, and this is basically which chess structures, the strength and weaknesses of certain chess structures that arise out of certain like openings, right? And which ones, and so you should understand them. And a lot of that is going to be on the pawn formation. So how is the best way to understand these structures? Do you want to get into these structures? And if you get into them, what should you be doing when you get into them, right? So all positional chess, standard patterns and plans explained, and that's pretty much what he's going to give you. So this is another good book you might be interested in. I think it's a little more narrow in scope than other positional chess books, but in that regard, it's going to be more instructive, but in a limited way. Okay, if that made sense to you. Techniques of Positional Play, right? Practical Methods to Gain the Upper Hand in Chess by Valery Broznik and Anatoly Terekin. I don't know. I don't know why I put on this fake, terrible Russian wannabe accent when I pronounce these guys' names. These guys, I'm Italian today. Anyway, so techniques of positional play, more good stuff. He talks about 45 specific ones, so you know what you're getting. And he breaks it down into 11 chapters. Restricting the enemy pieces, creating breathing space for your pieces. So this is kind of like the polar opposite of each other. The clash between pawn formations, the rook pawn, techniques to fight for the open file, some aspects of piece exchanges, working with the king, right? Positional themes, right? As you'd expect. I haven't really I think this is one of the few books I haven't read the introduction to, so I cannot really speak as to the writing, how good the writing is. But what I really like is what I check for is that I'm not overloaded with variations. Now, sometimes you need to be. Sometimes variations are you have to be. But at my level, for a beginning, low, mid level, I don't need a ton of variations. Right? I don't want a ton of variations. It takes away from my learning. That's probably just my personal weakness, but I understand my weaknesses, and I try to improve, but at the same time I try to cater to myself. Jacob Agard, famous chess author, famous current chess author, right? Most famous for his Grandmaster series, I believe, which a lot of GMs attest to being a good series. So this is not his Grandmaster series, which because I'm not a Grandmaster, so I think those are probably way advanced for me. But excelling at positional chess, this is I think headed more towards the intermediate player, maybe even slightly above my level, but I can understand it. I can struggle through it. So another good book on positional chess. The Positional Chess Handbook. This one has a nice layout. This one talks about, for example, let me show you. If I remember correctly, I'm about to show you something that maybe isn't true, or maybe isn't what I'm thinking about. Yeah, so a lot of the themes are like, here we go. A lot of the themes are basic themes, right? And basic things that are going to come up, right? And basic things that you can recognize, like as a low intermediate player, I think, right? Strong and weak pieces, good bishop versus bad knight, good knight versus bad bishop, bishops of the same color, bishops of opposite color, skipping down a few, the rook versus two minor pieces, right? These are general things that we always see, right? Not that we get into a bunch of end games, but when we do, these are the general things that we see. So this would be a good thing to be better at. And Gelfer, from what I read, is a pretty good writer. The Giants of Strategy. So instead of a book just like on strategy, instead of a book with strategical themes, not that this is, but it's those themes as played out in the games of the giants of strategy, right? Nimzovich, Capablanca, Petrosian, Karpov, Kramnik. And Grandmaster games are almost always the most instructive, right? It's better than just like a chapter devoted to, let's say, a chapter devoted to weak squares. Yeah, it's gonna that book will also explain the concept well, but this will reinforce it better, right? This will reinforce it better, especially if one of these guys is like one of your chess idols, or you want to mold your game after one of their games. This is a good way to do it. You're getting the themes, and as they all end up applying it, it's a good way to learn. Next, how good is your chess? How good is your chess is a slightly different format. You are getting 35 master games, as it says here, and you're as the games are progressing, you're going to get questions like what would you do now, right? And then it keeps going. Like here, what would you do? Here, what's happening? And then you get points awarded depending on how well you answer. So it's almost like it's kind of like a puzzle book, but it's a puzzle book where you're getting many quizzes during one game as it unfolds. So it's good. It's good in that sense, and it's different. So it might be beneficial. I don't know. I haven't really played through it. I need to. It's on my list of top 10 books to get to next, as far as chess. This is my latest addition to my library here. Can I call it a library? Anyway, to my collection of chess books, at least, by Emmanuel Bricard. He's French, so maybe it's Bricard. I don't know. Strategic chess exercises, right? He's gonna give you a concept. He's gonna reinforce the concept, and then he's gonna quiz you on the concept. Like, oh, that's it. What more could you possibly want? It's so the instead of puzzles where it's like mate in three, instead of puzzles where you have some tactics that you get a material advantage. This is study the diagram and determine what's the best strategy, right? So if you want to improve your strategy, this is a good book to do it with. Next, Modern Chess Strategy by Ludic Pac-Man, the original Pac-Man. That's not Pac-Man's. No, that's not Pac. That's like Battlestar Galactica. Oh, I don't know what the little Pac-Man noise is again. I can't make the noise, at least. I know what it is. Anyway, so I haven't read this book. It's a classic. I own it. I've had it forever. And it covers the general modern chess strategy. So if you really want to know about this book, check out the Amazon reviews. I'm sure they're glowing, and it's going to be a good book for strategy. Next. This one I bought because I found it cheap. I wasn't really sold on the concept, right? Chess master versus chess amateur. Like, what does the master think? What does the amateur think? Compare the difference, and then learn from the difference, right? Identify with the chess amateur because that's what you are probably, and then see what the master does, and then compare what he does to what you do. And obviously, what he does makes him effective, and what you do makes you a shitty player, right? So if you want to stop being a shitty player, stop doing shitty player things. That's the lesson. That's a life lesson for you all. Okay, so, but it's by Dr. Max Uwe, right? Former world champion. He beat Alyekin, and then he gave Alyekin a rematch pretty quickly. I wouldn't have given Alyekin that rematch anytime soon because not back in those days. People really avoided rematches to try to hold on to the title. I think Alyekin avoided rematches to hold on to the title, if I'm not mistaken. If I am, then I apologize to Alyekin and his family and all his kin. Okay, next. Better Chess for the Average Player, another book with the average player title. These books are going to sell because most of us identify as average players. Again, this is going to talk on certain strategic themes like weak pawns, weak squares, combinations, pawn sacrifices, mating attacks, right? General stuff. Harding is a pretty good writer, and he's not going to overload you with variations. He's going to do explanations. Gives you like 2 or 3 diagrams per page, which is what you want. Like for me, I don't want to set up the chessboard for everything. Some things I think I can just look at and understand, right? For a lot of things, you're going to want to set up the chessboard, but not for everything. And so if you can avoid it sometimes because they like give you heavy load of diagrams, then good, right? It's a book you take with you and you study when you have a break here and there. Mr. C.J.S. Purdy, a one-time correspondent chess champion, when it meant something, right, before computers. Today I could be the correspondence chess champion. Me and Ribka, or me and whoever. Um, anyway, Purdy's a good writer. There, now, there's certain themes that he talks about in here, which I'm not sure I would necessarily be interested in reading. Opening problems and principles, I would like. I would skip that. Playing black in the closing openings, I would skip that. Right, that's not what I'm interested in right now. And then he has very specific chapters like move 7 in the Queen's Gambit, like like for white, bishop takes f6. I don't know the Queen's Gambit. I don't know whether how far down the line of variations like that would be is like the fifth most popular move, or I don't know. But Purdy's a good writer, and the stuff in here, if it's of interest to you, if you check the table of contents, maybe on Amazon, I would say buy Purdy. Purdy, you might enjoy reading Purdy, and enjoyment is part of learning. So I think it would behoove you to take a look at Purdy's writing style, but you might need to do that on your own on Amazon. Judgment and Planning in Chess. This is what I need. Look again, Max Uwe. Right now, I looked at this book. I've tried reading this book, but I think maybe I just wasn't ready for it at the time. I tried this like 2 years ago. I've had this book for a while. I think I need to go back to it, especially. But now I'm trying to make a serious effort to get good at chess. Well, as serious as I've ever been, let's say, because it's not going to be ultimately very serious. But I'm dedicating more time. I'm going to study end games. I'm going to study. I'm actually studying a set of books, right, specifically designed to improve your chess over a long course. And then I actually have a blog about it that I just started. I'm only into book 1, chapter 4, and it's a long series. It's like a 10-book series, which I'll show you in this at the end, or towards the end of this video. Anyway, so Judgment and Planning in Chess by Uwe. First steps in judging and planning: pawn majority on the queen side, the queen side attack, knights against bad bishop, weakening the king side, the attack on the king's field, weak pawns, strong squares, open files, and then some illustrative games to go over those concepts. Okay, so, typical stuff. The Tarrasch formula, right? Tarrasch, there are certain themes in the way Tarrasch used to play. This is kind of like that book that I have on Bobby Fischer, the way Bobby Fischer plays the game. This is the same idea, right? The Tarrasch formula. He is a positional player. That's why the subtitle says one badly placed piece makes your whole position bad, right? You're going to want to improve your weakest piece. If you don't know what to do in chess, look at the board, look at your pieces, find your weakest piece, and improve it, right? But he has certain things, like certain bishops he works on, certain knights positions that he likes to have. This book covers these things. I don't know how successful a method that is. I bought it because it's positional chess, and any book on positional chess I think is going to be a benefit to me. And Tarrasch is a famous guy. I don't know about Palatnik and Aishi. I've really never heard of them. Next. The best lessons of a chess coach. Again, this is more strategy. Sunil Veeramantri. I used to know something about Veeramantri, but I have completely forgotten. And Ed Eusebi, with an introduction by Pandolfini. So, I don't remember, but this is the same idea. These are the same themes, right? I just recently looked at the themes. Strong squares, weak color complexes, a wonderful night, the initiative, piece coordination, right? So again, strategic themes, positional themes, good stuff. Chess Strategy by Edward Lasker. I have 2 Lasker books. I have the Lasker's Manual to Chess, of chess, I mean, and I have Lasker's chess strategy. So uh, Lasker was a world champion, if I recall. I think he was. Right? I think Emmanuel was. I don't know if Edward was. I'm getting my Laskers confused. Don't you hate when you do that? Anyway, so but he's a good writer. This Lasker, whoever he is a good writer. And he covers the general themes. Um, he even has chapters called Hints for Beginners, General Principles of Chess Strategy. Then he goes into the opening, right? Um, common themes like develop your pieces. Then he goes into the end games, which is good. Then he goes into the middle game, which is good, right? End game before middle game. So he's got a good layout. Um, I have two of these books of the same book, slightly different version. Don't ask me why I got it. Edmar Medness, Strategic Chess, Mastering the Closed Games. I bought this book because I want to play the closed games. Well, I tend to play closed games anyway, because I'm a D2, D4 player, or just a D4 player. I've tried various opening systems. I probably wasted too much time. I'm not an expert by any means, anywhere close to good at any opening system. My current opening system is the London system because it's for lazy players, and I am a lazy player, so I thought it would be perfect for me. But Madness has a nice table of contents as far as openings, if you're interested, right? Because he's he's a closed game system, so he's going to focus on D2, D4 openings. And you run down the list: the Bengal Gambit, the Benoni Defense, the Bago Indian, the Catalan, the Dutch, the English, the Grunfeld, the King's Indian, the Nimzo Indian, and so on down the line. He's gonna give you the openings and certain uh, strategic themes, what you should be trying to accomplish, right? So if you play one of those systems, this is a good book. So this book for strategic chess is if you play a certain D2, D4 opening, and you want to know what it's a good strategy to follow given your opening. I'm assuming that an opening book would actually treat those subjects, so I'm not sure if this book would be preferable to that, but maybe it would be nice to augment that. Anyway, Tarrasch. Back to Tarrasch. This is the games of chess of Tarrasch. The annotation is kind of dense, right? I don't know if you can pick that up. Right, you get a couple of diagrams per page. Not every page has two diagrams. Like this one has one over here, and then sometimes you have zero. But you're getting a lot of literature. You're getting a lot of explanation, and it's not just variations, right? He's explaining things in between. It's not the best. It's not the most densely annotated game, and you do get a lot of variations before another diagram. So, but the games are instructive. But again, you have to take your time and to appreciate like the games as it's unfolding, and you have to pause even if the book doesn't have a diagram that says stop here, something I'm going to write something new and I'm going to make a note. You should slow down and pause and see if you can understand why things are happening the way they are. And if they're not, maybe this book is not for you. Maybe you're not advanced enough for this book, as I am not advanced enough for, like, I would say, more than half my books. That doesn't stop me from buying them. Okay, Lasker's Manual of Chess. This is a famous book. It's kind of like Nimzovich's system. It's kind of like Steinitz's Elements. I don't think Lasker's Manual of Chess is too different from Nimzovich's system, but it's a popular book, and it's gotten good reviews. I haven't read it, but I have it, so here it is. This book by Michael Steen, Simple Chess, people seem to love this book. I don't get it. I don't get the hype. But again, the people who love it are like grandmasters or like high rated players, and I'm not one of those. So me not getting the hype is no big deal. Like, it shouldn't be a big dig at Michael Steen. Like, some nobody, know nothing like me doesn't like your book, mostly because he probably doesn't understand it. But here he talks about outposts, weak pawns, open files, half open files, minority attack, black squares and white squares, and space. Right? Very general themes, very important themes in chess, and he doesn't overload you, right? He doesn't overload you. So he has a few concepts, and he's going to try to explain them to you in the simplest ways as possible, and you would think that would be a good method to do it. So I could be wrong. I just haven't been blown away by the first two chapters that I read. Uh, which isn't to say that it's bad, and I'm disappointed that I read it. For some reason, I just think the reviews are like way beyond what the content of the book offers. But right, the qualification is that I'm not that knowledgeable about chess anyway. Dr. Uwe again, The Development of Chess Style, right? The famous book that shows you the historical development of chess style parallels the development of the individual chess player. So I know most people want to do like chess openings, and we don't really devote a lot of time to chess history. We don't devote a lot of time to chess culture, and we don't develop a lot of time to chess style, right? A lot of people scoff or look down at like how the way Morphy played, even the way Tal played. They'll say that he took too many risks. It wasn't the most sound chess. Yeah, but you'll never be as good as those guys, right? You would think that learning how to play like at least as good as those guys would be an aspiration, right? If you told me, hey, you can play as good as Paul Morphy, but you'll never be Kasparov, you'll never be Carlsen, you'll never be anybody contemporary because your style will be a throwback. I'll take it, right? I'll take it. Your chest will be uh, like 10 times better than it is today. You'll see more, you'll understand more, and if you could actually play like them and understand the game like them, then you can take on the task of developing your game to a more modern style, and you'll understand the steps you're taking while you're taking them, and you'll have a deeper, thorough understanding. This book is kind of like a broad picture of that development for chess. So I'm sure it would be instructive. Okay, I was talking about how sometimes we don't have access to books here in America that other people have in other countries. This next series of books is by the Argentinian Roberto G. Grau, and the book. This is a book series of 4, by the way, and this is in Spanish. Tratado General de Ajedrez, a general treaty of chess. I think this was, I forget who it was, but it was praised by a Soviet grandmaster as like one of the books that run one of the first series of books, or one of the first chess instruction books that the Russian kids were using, right? Like he recommended these books to some of his students, and I've gone through like half of the first book, and I stopped only because I just stopped dedicating so much time to chess improvement at that time. But this is great stuff. I've never seen this particular layout for improving your chess. Right? We have one estrategia superior, superior strategy. 2, conformación de peones, pawn formations. Number 3, táctica, tactics. And number 4, no, did I do this backwards? Yeah, I did do it backwards. Sorry. 1, rudimentos, which is the rudiments, right? The basics. 2, táctica, tactics. 3, conformación de peones, pawn formations. And 4, superior strategy, estrategia superior. My Spanish isn't what it used to be. Now, I think this series of books, I forget how much I paid for them, but right now, I think book number 2 goes for like $100. I think I could sell this whole series for like $300 if I wanted to. If I ever become homeless, I will just eat these books. I will never sell them. Okay, so let me see if I can show you something inside here. It's got some beautiful puzzles that I've never seen. and I'm sure they're all theoretical puzzles, like puzzles that he created. That I what the heck was that? I was gonna say I know they're theoretical puzzles because they're impossible puzzles, right? They can never happen in a chess game, but they're supposed to obviously draw out something. They're supposed to bring a point home. But other than that, and not all puzzles are like that. Some are from games. But anyway, I didn't really have it. But here's the layout. This is in Spanish, so if you can't read Spanish, I'm sorry. I don't know of an English translation. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. But I tried to find one because my Spanish isn't fluent. So reading this for me is kind of a chore, and on top of the fact that it's studying chess, right? Chess studying for me is a chore. Studying chess in Spanish is a super chore. I can imagine what it was for Bobby Fischer studying Russian. I doubt it was a chore for him. He was an obsessive personality with a desire to excel at chess. And right. So anyway, this collection is awesome. If you wanted to if you knew how to play chess, or if you wanted to learn how to play chess, let's go back. If you knew how to play chess and you wanted to take up a series to like improve your game, you cannot go wrong with this series, right? You just complete this whole series, and I almost want to guarantee you that you're gonna jump like 200 points just from like how elegant, how instructive the first half of this book one was. And I'm not a new chess player, right? I came into this series like a middling player. I came into the series with like a heavy load of tactical problems solved, and even the basic ones, even the basic tactic problems that he covers in the beginning of this book, took me time to figure out, and sometimes I couldn't figure it out. And then you look at the answers and you're like, okay, I get it. That's nice. That's beautiful. And then you learn, right? And then you learn. This is a great series. And Grau was a great author. Grau was a good chess player, very good chess player, but a great author, right? And the books he put together, like amazing. I always hold it upside down, right? These are on my bookshelves forever. I think you could still pick up the Spanish edition. I don't remember where I picked it up from. And this is all four. I'm pretty sure there's no fifth. If there is, I'll hunt it down. Okay. Now, as I said, I am following a chess series. I almost decided to use Grau's, but I wanted to do one in English just because that's my primary language. So I have Arthur Yusupov's 10-book series. I'm missing one book, but it's coming in the mail as soon as it is republished. The new edition is published. It's I'll tell you which one it is. Anyway, this is Arthur's Build Up Your Chess, Boost Your Chess, and Chess Evolution series, right? I don't know what else to call it. And so there's 10 books total. I have 9 of them here. The 10th one is going to be arriving sometime in August. And so let me get to them. So Arthur Yusupov was, I think, from 1986 to 1995. Somewhere around that time, he was number 3 in the world, right? So for a long time, he was number 3 in the world. Maybe it was only 6 years, maybe 86 to 92. Anyway, he was number 3 in the world. And he was born in Russia and moved to Germany. And this series of books won some kind of award. I forget what the name of the award was, but I don't know if that means that much. But I've finished the first 4 chapters of this book. What you're getting is certain chess themes. Like the first 2 chapters were checkmate themes, right? Blackburn's mate, other mates. I can't even name them, but when I see them, I recognize them. So you learn you learn 6 themes. Like the first chapter was 6 checkmates, right? You get diagrams, you study the diagrams, then you look to the solutions, you learn that, you play through it, and then you get a quiz at the end, and then you get graded. right? And that's all you're doing. Each book is 24 chapters, right? 24. So there's 9 books. So 9 times 24 is 216. And then there's one book in the number 4 book, which is kind of like an exam after the first series, revision exam. Um, and so you get these 4. You do them in order, and then you do this exam, and then when you're done with that, you go to the next ones, right? So here's the next level, build up your chest. But there is no revision and exam book for this one, only because Arthur hasn't written one, and I know that he has expressed an interest. He doesn't plan on writing it, right? Uh, he says he's kind of tired and he doesn't feel motivated to write it. And I think because of the level, like there's not going to be a real high demand. Not a lot of people are going to go through these first 4 books, let alone this next 3 books, let alone the next 3 books. And the one I'm missing is Build Up Your Chest, and that's the one that's coming right now. I think on Amazon, the Build Up Your Chest is like anywhere between $60 and $90, right? I don't know. Like obviously it's supply and demand, but they're putting out a new one in August, and so I have a pre-order. So I paid like the 24. That I think these books are like $24 each. So just in these books alone, there's like $240 invested. I didn't pay that much because some of these I got under $20 used, but they're all in like pristine condition. The paper stock is really nice, right? They're kind of like it's good paper stock. The binding is really good, and the instruction. I don't know if this is fair to say, or I wouldn't complain about this. I'm not complaining about this. I'm just going to show you what I mean. So you get. Let me just show you chapter 1. By the way, I do have a blog, and if I remember, I'll put it in the title. I'll put it on the bottom here, in the description, and you can check out my progress and my comments as I go through the series. Right, I'm commenting after I finish every chapter. So I already have a blog for the introduction of like that I'm going to follow the series, which includes the chapter 1 review, what I learned, how difficult it was, what I thought about the instruction. And then, so after you study these, you study the diagrams. You don't look here. You study the diagram and you try to figure it out. You can't figure it out, then you read, right? And then you play through everything over the board. Then you go to the next one and do the same thing. All of these you should treat as puzzles, but then look at the answers and then learn it. Then you do that, and then you do that for all of them, and then you get to the exercises. And then the exercises he rates with stars for difficulty. And so at the end, when you're finished, you get the solutions, and then he gives you a grading system. So this one was worth, I think, possible 16 points, and I got 16 out of 16, so I was stoked. But if you get 14 points or above, he says you're excellent. 12 points or above, you're good. 9 points or above, a passing mark. Right? This is like, I remember he did an interview with Jason Argard, and Argard tried to downplay the importance of this, but I think it's important, right? It's a scoring system, which means it gives you a standard, and it gives you a standard to weigh how well you've done, and it also gives you motivation to do well, and it lets you know where you stand, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. If you got 9 points or less, he recommends that you repeat the chapter because you didn't learn enough. You didn't learn it well enough. Go back and do it again. I go back and do it again if I don't get excellent, right? And even when I get excellent, if I don't get a perfect score, I go back and review what I missed, right? So there's nothing. This is a good system. It makes it more enjoyable. It gives you something to strive for, and the book is really good. But I think the book is really good because not just because of the content that he chooses and the explanations. The explanations are fine. Like it's that the approach he's asking you to take, and you're motivated to take it because of the quizzes for each chapter. Each and every chapter you have 12, I think 12 quizzes, right? It's a 12, it's a 12 puzzle quiz every chapter, right? So you have 24 chapters times 12. 12 times 12 is 144. So 12 times 24 is 288. 288 in one book after a lesson. That's what you want, right? That's what you want. That's like having a coach, right? That's like having a coach. He gives you material. He teaches you the material. He runs through some exercises with you to make sure you understand the material. Then he gives you a quiz, and then you see how well you've learned it. And so you'll do that for each and every book. What could be better? I'm gonna do this for all of them, even though you know it's coming, so it's really anticlimactic. Boom, in your face. All right, that was chapter 4. I am not gonna finish this series today. I'll try to finish it tomorrow, but it is like 6 a.m. in the morning right now because I'm staying up to watch the soccer game, and I'm about to go watch Argentina versus Iceland, which I expect to be a good game. France beat Australia 2-1 today, but France played like shit, and they were lucky to get that win. Not that Australia was any better, but it was uninspired soccer. So far, the best World Cup game has been Portugal versus Spain. And that's it. The other games have been pretty crappy. But I'm going to watch the Argentina game, and then I'm going to watch the Peru game versus Denmark, which should be a great game because those two teams are pretty much fighting for second place in Group C. Okay, sorry, I got off on a tangent. All right, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Leave your comments. If you want to follow my blog to see how I'm doing or to see if this series is for you, I'll put it in the description. All right, I'm out.